105 days until the NFL kickoff, September 4th. Everything's early this year for the NFL. I was looking at that, and I feel like normally it doesn't start until we're in, the 10th or something like that, second week, but it's starting early. Starting early this year. The Hall of Fame game is in July, which is very rare. So
July 31st.
we're getting there.
Yeah,
we're getting there. Once we get past,
you got to say the date.
Oh yeah. Well, they have to do math.
Yeah,
and they have to.
It's on
count,
those guys now.
Come on.
Yeah, you have to do 105 days from September 4th, and you'll know the date. Or you can just look at the date in the YouTube video.
May 22nd.
Description. Yeah, it's May 22nd. We are in full
the Pacific time zone currently.
Yes, in the Pacific time zone. If you're in Asia, it's the 23rd. I forget what's the country that experiences New Year's the 1st. It's somewhere in the Pacific Ocean somewhere, but is it Guam?
Well, for the United States, I think it's Guam, because it's a U.S. territory.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's see. First country to experience the New Year. It's some island out there. Well, that's going to load, and then we'll see. But anyways, it's May 22nd. Sorry, Kevin. We'll see if Kevin's even here. He might not even be here. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely the doldrums of the Dynasty season and stuff, because I saw some moves that were made, and I was like, damn, I don't even know. It was in our Zeus league, and of course it's not loading because my internet sucks right now, but it was someone for New England that was picked up. He played at UC Davis. I was like looking him up. Land Larison was picked up in our Zeus league. He went to UC Davis. He's an undrafted guy on New England. So I was like, oh yeah, we're in the off season of not much happening right now. I'm not saying he won't be anything, but
picking him up on waivers is okay. It's like trading any assets for stuff like that, like next year assets. That's when you kind of scratch your head, maybe.
I mean, personally, I think you should have gone for Jason Bean.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
Colts, right?
Fuck if I. Yeah, I don't even know if I remember. I think it was actually. He was the handcuff to Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Just how that came up.
Yeah. So, but who knows? I did read a little bit about Land Larison, and that a lot of teams were in on him, and the New England had to pay him a decent amount, like $175,000 contract, which is pretty good for an undrafted guy. So we'll see. We will see about Land Larison. But we are here, kind of a little Q&A again. Not sure. We're going to have a little bit lighter audiences, I think, for the next month and a half or so, next 6 weeks. But we are doing a team review, someone who won the free team review after the draft contest. So it's actually a fellow podcaster. So the Two Distinguished Gentlemen podcast, I believe it's called, won that. So we're going to go through that. It's a little bit of an interesting league. Of course, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. But yeah, any news? I know Tush Push is around, still around. So don't worry if you're Jalen Hurts. Yeah, it's kind of we can stop talking about it, right?
Yeah,
just let it be.
Wait, you hate what? You
Lions
hate
are one of the teams.
Or you hate talking about the banning of the Tush Push?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think pushing a guy from behind. I don't. It just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
You know?
So, and you guys correct me on this because you guys have been doing this way longer than I have as far as watching football. But apparently, this was a rule before where you couldn't push another player, and then they got rid of it in the early 2000s. because it was
Right.
to like regulate. So like, yeah, and and like, think about like, I mean, guys definitely like push the pile of dudes like to get those extra couple of yards, like, so I don't know what the difference is there or the nuance. Like when do you start saying like, oh, if there's like 3 other guys trying to shove them back, like you're allowed to shove them, or I don't know.
Yeah, you're correct. It was like back in like 03 or 04 or something. And the Eagles do it well, and I think Hurts is the main reason. There's some quarterbacks who are really good at sneaks. Tom Brady was very good at quarterback sneaks. Phillip Rivers, he couldn't fall a half a yard in front of him. Justin Herbert, big, strong ass guy, he doesn't look like he's a very good quarterback sneak guy.
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit of an art to it or something. And Hurts has obviously got the right body style, can squat 600 pounds, and he's kind of a muscular, slightly, I don't know, huskier guy or something. Well built. I just don't like the.
Yeah, there's definitely some skill and involved in it, whether that's strength based or a combination of that and knowing where to go. But like, if everyone can do it, everyone would do it, right? So we see guys get stuffed at the line all the time.
Yeah. I was looking up some statistics here, and teams are getting better at stopping it. It went from 90% conversion rate in 2022 to 82% last year. So, teams are getting better at it. Here's the thing. In comparison, all QB sneaks on 3rd and 4th and 1 have actually converted 86% since 2017. So technically, just regular quarterback sneaks were more successful over the last 8 years compared to the tush push last year. So I don't know. I don't think we should. And there hasn't been. What's that?
No, I think there's a fantasy component to it related to Hurts. And Josh Allen does it pretty well. Sure. Josh Allen does it kind of well, but his don't look like. It doesn't seem like they're all lining up in the backfield pushing his ass. I don't know. He just kind of does it on his own.
No, it's not a traditional one.
No,
they push him, but not with 2 guys and stuff. They cite like injury concerns. And if anyone's watching, type in a comment because we have. It says I have comments off or something.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't seen a single comment come through.
Yeah,
besides
I'm not sure.
First.
I mean,
are you broadcasting?
Yeah, we're live and everything, but it says there's no comments are turned off or something. I'm gonna check it out here, but yeah. So they cite like injury stuff, but like no one's ever been injured on it except for the Giants and Daniel Jones, but he like didn't really, they like never practiced it or whatever. So yeah, I'm not sure why people can't comment. It's really weird.
You know what kind of ticks me off related to this? It seems like it's 5 years ago, maybe it's 10 years now, the way time, remember they banned, you can't touch the center on field goals and punts. Remember that?
Really?
Yeah. You can't.
You look at them like post snap, like you can't touch the center.
Well, you'll never see a guy lined up and knock the shit out of the center.
Can't line up over the center in kicks and stuff.
Is that just because like he's like more vulnerable or something? And he can just get shoved over and open up the lane? Okay.
And I thought,
I've never noticed that. I'm gonna try and pay attention to that, even though I'm sure
it was a rule. It was a rule change. And it was the health and safety and all that horse shit. It's like, man, this is football, man.
Yeah, but you got to remember, it's the owners and the players that are deciding this. And
but if you sign up for it, you sign.
I know, but they're the ones making the rules, so you can't say like, oh, these guys are a bunch of pussies because this, or like they're pussifying the sport. It's literally the guys playing the sport and that are controlling the sport, making the rules, right? So obviously they don't want guys getting hurt unnecessarily because, I mean, that's their product, you know? The entertainment is the product.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out the comment thing. It might have something to do. I guess I made it for kids. So maybe try and refresh everyone now. Maybe that's a reason why. And I don't know where Brian refreshed maybe. Maybe everyone watching know if it works. So because we can type in ourselves, so
I was gonna say, I guess I shouldn't have refreshed.
Yeah, for some reason I had it listed as it was made for kids, and maybe that had something to do with the chat not being. I hope we'll be able to.
We got canceled immediately if it was for kids.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just curious now, like if it's gonna just be like that the whole stream, or. No, it looks like you guys can. If you refresh, I think you guys should be able to comment now. So, let me know. Let me know if you can or not. Leave a comment and let me know if you can. I think you should be able to now. So, someone leave a comment. I know we're probably on a delay, but I just went on my own page. If you refresh, you should be able to. So. Okay, yeah, we're good. I'm getting messages in Discord, so we're good.
All right.
We are good. I don't want to make it for kids. Yeah, Joseph's here. We are back.
All right, here we go.
But yeah, tush push. I don't. Yeah. By the way, Jalen Hurts scored like 10 touchdowns back in 2022 when the tush push wasn't even a thing. So. It's either 21 or 22, so I wasn't too worried about it.
You want to
hear?
Two
distinguished gentlemen here. That's who we're reviewing today. Go ahead.
So I guess when the owners were meeting to vote on it on Wednesday, the Eagles owner, his name is Jeffrey Lurie, got up and was talking about it, and he referenced that something about. This is like a kid having a wet dream.
What?
Yes.
Why is it got to be a kid?
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
It means like a teenager, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But I've had wet dreams as an adult, so I don't know. But anyway,
it's actually been a while since I've had one. I'm kind of jealous now.
Yeah, it's been a while too. But anyway, so
hey, this video is supposed to be for kids.
Yeah, well, it's just a wet dream, It's not nothing terrible.
Well, yeah,
but,
apparently.
How can an NFL owner? Yeah,
right, I'm gonna stop.
There's female owners, the Lions, the Saints, and Titans, and if we're getting all sensitive and all this other shit, and the guy gets up and talking about, yeah, if we ban this, is like I don't know, something. There's a reference to a kid having a wet dream.
Wait. Are you suggesting or are you insinuating that a wet dream, that women can't have wet dreams? Because I beg to
No, I'm not. I don't even want to talk about that shit. So.
Well, we have to. Joseph's asking.
Well, I don't know, man. Go back to
you'll find
biology class and ask.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Let us know on the next podcast, and
nocturnal emissions. I remember hearing it called that at some point.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, so
it's where you cream your shorts in your sleep. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which is
pretty sure. Yeah, I think Joseph would know. He said he'd ask his priest. And where Marvin's asking real questions here. Thank you. Keishon Butte, a drop or worth trading for? Not worth trading for. I guess it depends who you're dropping him for. I don't think he's necessarily automatic cut though.
Mr. Booty.
He was decent. He was decent last year for the Patriots. He had almost 600 yards.
Wide receiver for the Patriots? or running back. I can't remember. I know the name, but
No, it's wide receiver.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. Nailed it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily drop him, but I mean, it depends who you're dropping him for. So I don't think he's probably ever going to be fantasy relevant, but it depends. If you're playing in a shallow league, then yeah, he's probably worth a drop. Like in the team we're reviewing today, in Two Distinguished Gentlemen podcast, he was the winner of our giveaway. It's a pretty shallow league in terms of the offensive starters. It's a 12-team start 8, so there's a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and 2 flexes. That's where the start 8 comes from. He also has a kicker and some IDP players. So a defensive lineman spot, a linebacker spot, a defensive back spot, and then 3 IDP flexes. So we will come out and say right away we are not IDP experts at all. But
I have some IDP experience, so I'll just
I think I played in like 1 or 2, but this is years ago.
I'll just tell you my experience. So
yeah, that's why I like the war tool here, and you can find this for free on Dynasty Daddy, and then there's paid versions that are a little bit more advanced, and you can let us know about this, but it's basically showing if you get rid of all these lines and you just look at the IDP guys, it's basically showing that they're not really valuable. They have like kind of no value at all. Which I don't know if that's just the settings not translating over, but it shows it in both my war tools here. That like IDPs are like not scoring much and they're not really that valuable for that reason. I think something has to do with that you only have to start one of them in terms of like 1 DL, D lineman, 1 defensive back and stuff. It really looks like that it's the linebackers that are only worth something. So you can let us know if that's not right.
I'd rather have an IDP than a kicker.
Well, he has both. So, but what the war tool here is showing is that it's because this is a 1 quarterback. It's basically running backs and wide receivers, and it's again because it's a start 8. You want to stock up on those elite difference-making guys. So, like, we're probably going to talk about potentially trading 2-3 players for 1 guy just to get that elite type of player. So, when we look at his team here, and again, let us know about the IDP stuff if it's wrong there. If you feel like are these defensive players actually scoring a lot or not? But as we look at the team here, we have Jordan Love, Michael Penix, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, again in a 1 quarterback league. Caleb Johnson, Alvin Kamara, James Conner, Trey Benson, Jalen Wright, Jarquez Hunter, some rookies there. Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Terry McLaurin, Luther Burden, Bash Ridley, Loveland, Noah Gray. So a couple first-round picks in 2026, which is nice to see. So I guess my question for you guys right away is how many top 5 players at their position do we see on this team here? Because we're going to need a couple, most likely, right, in a start 8. So how many would you say like you would feel you'd feel okay with kind of saying, okay, this guy's going to be top 5 at their position?
Going to be or could be, I guess, is the big question, right?
Like if someone said, you're betting on it. So like, obviously, it's hard to be top 5, but you feel good with the return of the bet or whatever. Like you feel confident in betting on, Caleb Johnson's going to be top 5 or whatever.
Now I'm not really seeing it, honestly. Like probably Marv is like the one that stands out the most, just given like the hype from last year and everything. Like if I had to pick one, if I had to bet on one, if you're forcing me at gunpoint, it would probably be him.
Yeah, I mean it's him or Kamara, right? Or I guess Connor potentially. I mean Kamara was top 5 last year in points per game.
Yeah, I just like, not that I have any doubts about Kamara in general, but just the Saints offense, man. Like, I don't know what to expect there. Like, I'm just kind of like going with my gut on this one. Like, I mean, Connor could do it too. Like, I mean, I do think the Cardinals offense will be better than the Saints. Like, I'm going out on a limb here, you guys. But no, yeah, it's rough shape for sure.
So basically, we don't feel great about any of these guys being top 5, which is, he kind of calls it like a full rebuild, but I don't think it's necessarily a full rebuild. By the way, guys, if you do have questions, you can leave them in the chat. Cheesehead, I see that you have a trade. Marvin, we'll get to these after we do this team review and stuff like that. So we will definitely answer those. So just kind of leave them in the chat and we'll get to them. But
for whatever reason,
yeah.
Sorry, I've been trying to figure this out the whole time. That's why I keep like looking around. I can't seem to pull this proper league up. I can see
Where
it
are
on
you trying
your
to pull it up at?
Well, on Dynasty Daddy. Like, I'm trying to look at what you're looking at, and the ID doesn't seem to be jiving. I don't know. I'll just go off of your screen here.
Put it in the private chat, like the link to it. But he says he'd love to upgrade. He loves the IDPs. He would love to upgrade the running backs. Yeah, let us know, two distinguished gentlemen, about the IDPs in particular, because like we don't really get, we see some of the scoring down here and stuff like that, but I don't really know how it translates to compared to like wide receivers and running backs and stuff. Like it looks like they get points for block kick, defensive touchdown, forced fumble recovery, and INT, pass defense, sack, safety. Half point for assisted tackle, half full point for solo tackle. So let us know if we're kind of right there in that. The IDP is not really scoring. He says the linebackers are like the running backs are wide receivers. So okay, I mean if that's the case, then the war is not showing correctly there. I'm gonna send you guys also the. He sent me a link to his team here, so I'm gonna put it in the private chat as well. So you can kind of look at his team that way too. It also doesn't show the IDPs. Oh no, it does show some. Okay, but in terms of the running backs and stuff like that, and wanting to so the middle linebackers are the guys. Yeah, the off-ball linebackers are kind of the guys that we are wanting here. But again, we kind of go back to that to the war tool and trusting that it's right. It's kind of showing like that they're not anywhere close. The IDP guys are nowhere close to what running backs and wide receivers in terms of their value are. And I think part of that could be, one, the scoring, two, that you only have to start like one defensive back, and there's enough out there to where they kind of just become like kickers a little bit in that sense, where it's just like, okay, yeah, every team can have a defensive back or a defensive lineman, and it's pretty easy to find guys, for those positions, So it almost becomes a little bit like a kicker in that sense. But we're looking at top studs, like just looking at the Ward. So he has a lot of good pieces, but man, he needs to add one or two players, in my opinion. And top tier players. So that's kind of what we're going to be focused on here.
Because you're saying that, I guess, because it's such a shallow league, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a 12-team start 8. So it's a one
you
quarterback.
Need that guy that's going to give you 20 to 25 every week.
So yeah. As far as the IDP goes, like, do you not have to start one? Like, from what I'm seeing,
no, he does.
Here?
From what he sent me, potentially, and you can let us know again. Like when you sent me that because what I see here, according to this, it's showing a D line spot, but oh no, actually it doesn't say that. So it's just 3 IDP flexes. So that's why those guys. So you don't have to start a defensive lineman or a linebacker or defensive back. Yeah, you're right. It's just 3 IDP
Okay.
flexes, I believe, is what he starts, which is what he has at the bottom there. Those 3 flexes. So that's, you have to start 3. Yeah. So that's kind of where, that's kind of where the value is not. Basically, what it's saying is everyone can find 3 IDP flexes. That's not very hard to find. It's essentially what it's saying, like the war tool. So maybe they do score similarly to a running back or a wide receiver at times, but the fact that like everyone can just, it's not very hard to find 3 IDP guys. I think that's why it's showing the war value pretty low. So I would play on that a little bit. Like if people do really value those IDP players, because again, from what I'm seeing, they really aren't that much of a difference maker. I would kind of play on that and maybe trade high on those guys. I'm not sure who would be valued the most out of those guys, but obviously the off-ball linebackers and stuff. So, but anyways, going back to the original question, we don't feel confident in any of these guys being top 5, right? And so that's an issue, and that's probably why it kind of lists you as, even though like your overall rank here on Dynasty Daddy is 3rd, the fact that you don't even have maybe one of those like top 5 receivers, top 5 to 7 receivers, running backs, tight ends, even quarterback necessarily, is probably why it's calling you like a fraud. Yeah. So he's looking to improve running backs, and it is hard to find 3 guys to get a lot of tackles. Okay. All right. Yeah. So maybe there is some value there, but anyways, any thoughts on his team? Is it a soft rebuild? Is it trying to compete this year? Is it like a full-on rebuild?
It's kind of in the middle of the road. None of his players are terrible. A couple running backs, Kamara and Connor, they're a little older, and it's nice to see Caleb Johnson there. Loveland, hopefully he gets up and running, rolling with the Bears and stuff like that. The quarterback situation's not bad, but there's just nothing there that goes, oh, okay. You got like you've been talking about. I know you said top 5, but so to get somebody, you're gonna have to, if you want somebody, you're gonna have to give up something. So
yeah, I'm actually looking at the team because he does have 2 firsts already. So I'm looking at the team that he has the other first of, and kind of like looking at that a little bit
for next year.
Yeah, for next year.
Okay.
Wide receiver room's shaky, but he's got Gibbs and Genty at running back and Trey McBride, so he's definitely like a little more like guys you can see being at the top 5. Plus he's got Fields too, which is interesting. So I'm just trying to like gauge that, because I'm trying to decide, like, the reason I was looking at that, like I wanted to kind of like get a realistic like look at like what that first is going to look like, because if you tear it down, obviously like your first can be valuable, but what about this other person's? So just kind of looking at that. So there's no tight end premium, right? Is this full PPR? Sorry, like.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, no premium. Yeah, I'm just trying to look at like, we need to get one. I think this team is good if we can get 1 or 2 of those heavy hitters, And so like I'm just trying to like search around someone, because he has pretty good quarterback depth. The problem is it's a 1 quarterback league.
Yeah.
And none of these guys are like, you want Lamar, Hurts, Burrow, if he finishes top 5, even guys like Fields and stuff, I want
Maybe
Fields.
package a quarterback with something, and to get
That's
that, like you call it, a heavy hitter or something. I don't know.
that's kind of what the way I was leaning to. Like, I don't always agree with like the grades from Dynasty Daddy because like context is like a big like thing. Like when it comes to, it's like, oh, this guy has like the best tight end group, but it's like, well, his best tight end according to them is Tyler Warren. It's like he just has a bunch of them, kind of. So it's like I don't necessarily that's the order. Sorry, I didn't even say the team name. So I'm just looking at the Mr. Butt Fumble. Like, what has he got that you might be able to go after? Because I kind of recognize the same thing. It's like, yeah, you got good quarterback depth, but it's one QB. So do you really need Love, Penix, Lawrence, Stafford? Like I
They're all
think I
kind of the
might.
same.
Yeah, exactly. Like you definitely don't need 4 of them. Like obviously Stafford's valued less, just because the age. But it's like, yeah, maybe try and hit on Butt Fumble because he's got Cam Ward, Tua, and Aaron Rodgers. Like depending on how people value the quarterbacks here, he might be a decent target. I'm just kind of looking at his team. It's like, what do you go after?
That's the problem. I was like, there's not really anyone I feel super confident saying they're going to be top 5 or 7. Like I don't really feel.
I mean, Laporta, that solves tight
yeah,
end.
Laporta. Yeah, I mean, he has Loveland, so in a one tight end or a non-tight end premium, so like it depends on how he feels about Loveland, which I know he mentioned he likes Loveland and stuff. So yeah, I was kind of looking at him. I mean, I'd really like to get. It's going to be so hard to get like a Hurts or Lamar or Josh Allen or something. But like, if you can somehow acquire those, like I'm willing to package just what seems like an overpay. I'm willing to package a bunch of guys to quote unquote overpay when to me it's not really an overpay again because it's a 12 team start 8 in terms of offensive players. So every player accounts for what is that 12.5 13% of your scoring, and so like one, if you get 2 of those guys who are putting up those 20 points per game, you're going to be beating most people each week. So even though quarterbacks like, can I get a Fields? Can I get an A-Rich? Like I would happily trade one of those other quarterbacks for Anthony Richardson, hopefully get something in return and just bank on Anthony Richardson turning things around, or a Justin Fields. Like, I think I would even be okay with just straight up trading either Penix or Lawrence or even, Stafford or any of those 4 straight up for Justin Fields because you have 4 of those guys. They're all multiple of those guys are going to be low end QB1s, right? We want top 5, top 7 quarterbacks. So like, I know it seems like ridiculous to say, but I'd be willing to do it knowing that I have a Love, Penix, Lawrence, Stafford, like multiple of those guys to fall back on, and taking that risk. Again, maybe you can get something in return. You probably could because like the optics of it is well, all these guys are more valuable than Fields, except for probably all of them, right? Except for maybe Stafford, but maybe he's more valuable than Fields too. So
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But in terms of just the rating as well, like it might be like that. So I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to try and get Anthony Richardson. Who else is in that range? Not really anyone else.
Well, the nice thing about Fields too is he's on a team that has Baker and Kyler too, so it might be easier to wrestle him away from that guy.
Yeah.
But
Kyler's another one to buy low on.
Yeah, I know. That's initially who caught my eye on the team, and then I noticed he had Fields too. So Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I guess it depends. Like, you can always like shoot a trade over to that guy, the King's Gambit, and say,
Uh-huh.
"Hey, I'm interested in Kyler." And if he says no, like, well, what about Fields? Kind of, and then just try and like feel it out a little bit. Like, how does he view these guys? You know?
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, we're looking for, again, like running backs. If you can get somehow Bijan, Gibbs, Jinty, even guys like Achan, Bucky, JT, some of the rookies in Hampton, Henderson, they're going to be harder to get. But maybe even a Brees Hall, Kyron Williams, like those guys, I would overpay what seems like an overpay for that. I'd throw 2-3 assets at someone to get those if you want to compete this year.
What do you
Right?
think? What do you think about the scary guys team, like who has Hawkinson? What do you guys think about? What's your feelers on Hawkinson as a tight end in general? Because I think he's kind of like one of those guys that people might be a little low on. Obviously he came back from the injury last year, but he's in a good offense. Like he actually did pretty well. Like target wise, like might not have produced really last year. I don't know what his stats are like per game, but I feel like he's basically my tight end 4 in Dynasty. Could you package Loveland, plus something, or even like I mean, the guy's got Mahomes, Bryce Young, and Jackson Dart. Like, so it's like, I mean, maybe try and trade one of your quarterbacks for Hawkinson and even throw a piece on top of that. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's just, again, like non-tight end premium. It's tough with these tight ends. Like, I mean, you just kind of look at them. Like it's like the top 3 guys, and then it really falls off. Like, and this is basically how it's going to look every year. So even the top tight end is, a top 6 wide receiver. But once you get outside of those top 3, like they don't really mean that much, unfortunately. Like they just don't.
No,
I
the
know it
war
sucks.
tool comes back to bite us in the ass again.
I know it sucks to like hear it, but when you have like 12 teams start 8, and which is why I really like to play in deeper leagues, it's like a lot of guys just don't matter. Like unfortunately, like if you don't have, like, it's nice to have all these pieces, all these. Okay, Caleb Johnson's going to be a top a top 20 running back, and Alvin Kamara, or Jordan Love's going to be QB 10, and Chris Olave is going to be wide receiver 22, and they don't really mean anything unless you have multiple guys in, like we said, in the top 7 of their position, top 5 of their position. Like they just don't. They really, really don't. And I know it's a little abstract to kind of look at like a war tool and stuff like that, but if you really go back and like look at your leagues, whether it's redraft or dynasty, and see who wins every year, it's like, oh yeah, this guy had like 3 players, in a 12-team start 8. This guy had 3 players. Like, who was the winner? I guess I can look back and see, or yeah, tight ends don't mean much outside the top 3. Who won this league, gentlemen, and who came in who were like the top 2 players or so? I'm just curious. I assume Blue Samurai is up there with Lamar, JT, Kyron, potentially.
Chase Brown.
Maybe not.
Yeah, St. Brown.
Yeah, he said Kings.
Ronin Alliance.
Ronin Alliance. So they have him down here as a fraud.
Versus Blue Samurai, huh? No.
So look at his team. He has Josh Allen. Montgomery was out during the playoffs, right? Like he basically had Josh Allen and Jamar Chase and AJ Brown, and he won. Assuming this was his team, like maybe he traded someone, I don't know, but like he wasn't winning with Jalen Warren, with Jordan Addison. Like I don't remember who did what during the playoffs and stuff, but like even Travis Kelce was, a bit of a disappointment and stuff. Like you would look at this team and be like, it's okay. That's why it's ranked ninth. Like, it's just he has a couple pieces, but not much depth. Doesn't really matter in a start 8. Like, it just doesn't. It's Josh Allen and Chase. Like, that's literally all you need. And all these other guys just give me whatever. Give me 10 points a game or something like that. So, who did he say was the runner-up? Blue Samurai?
No, I just said
you
Ronin
said
and the Lions versus Blue Samurai.
Yeah, so like I don't know who was second place, but like you look at Blue Samurai's team and you think like, oh yeah, like Lamar, JT, Kyron, Chase Brown, Amon-Ra, Lad McConkey, JMO, a lot more depth, but maybe Brees Mode was the runner up. He basically won with 3 guys. Yeah, so that's kind of the point I'm getting at. What does Brees Mode have? Bo Nix, Brees Hall, Jason. How did he get as a runner up? Chuba Hubbard was awesome down the stretch. Bo Nix obviously was pretty good. JSN was good. Like you look at this roster, you don't think it's a team getting second place. I know it all depends on what's happening.
Yeah, in that week. Well, there you go. Hit up Brees Mode for Anthony Richardson.
I would.
Yeah, like get a shot at a guy who could, finish top 5. Because I think it's pretty safe to say that Richardson should be top 5 if he plays all 17 games.
That's a big if, man.
And that's where the fire comes in.
Yeah, huge. That's a big fire.
Yeah.
It's
too big. It's too big for me.
Yeah, but then if he doesn't, you just fall back on Love or Penix or Lawrence or Stafford. It's a 1 quarterback league, so like that's all you really need. Again, this guy won because of Josh Allen and Jamar Chase. He didn't really have anything down the stretch. AJ Brown too. I don't know what AJ Brown did. Did the playoffs and stuff, but he did have James Cook or Cooks on the team. I assume that's James Cook.
Yeah, I would.
Not Brandon
James
Cook.
Yeah.
Not Brandon Cooks. So that's why I'm saying I'm willing to throw in 2 or 3 assets. And again, what seems like an overpay, and every trade calculator is going to tell you it's an overpay, but it's not because you want a premium player. So again, who is that? That's Bijan, Gibbs, Genty, even HN, Bucky Irving, depending on how you feel about these guys, Jonathan Taylor. Brees Hall is an interesting one. He could be that. I would also potentially go for guys that could be that. Maybe a little bit further down the list. Obviously like guys like Derrick Henry, even Joe Mixon, these type of players. The wide receivers we know it's Chase, Jefferson, Neighbors, Lamb, BTJ, Amon-Ra, Puka, Deco. I'd probably throw in there. I'd probably stop there for sure. And then maybe guys like AJ Brown. Sorry, go ahead. Metcalf.
I was gonna say the running backs, the aging running backs that could be real difference makers. Like there's 2 of them on the Knights of Krypton team, and he's got Hurts too. But he's got CMC and Henry. Maybe he's ready to cash out. You've got a few 1st-round picks and quarterbacks. Like maybe he's a good one to target because he's definitely got an aging team, so he might be like at that point where like he's got Kittle, Evans, McCaffrey, Henry.
Yeah.
If you're looking to upgrade, like I feel like McCaffrey is like a decent buy. Like now, like given like I feel like the value's deflated, and we know what he can do, but the guy who has him also might just like with this aging team might be kind of like, well, I'm just gonna run it into the ground more or less. Like it doesn't look like he had a whole lot of picks, this guy. Like I'm just looking at what rookies he has, and it looks like he finished decently high based on Milrose, Scadaboo, Felton, or Arroyo. So
He mentioned King's Gambit wants a wide receiver, and he has Gibbs and Genty. So like I'm willing to. You want Olave, McLaurin, and something else for one of those guys? I would potentially do it. I wouldn't start that way. I would probably actually. Ideally, I'd want to keep McLaurin out of all those guys because I think he, along with Marvin Harrison, has the best chance of being like a top 12 guy. He was last year essentially after the first couple of weeks. So I'll give you Olave and Luther Burden and something else if you want it for one of those guys. Even a first round pick potentially. Like that's the type of deal I'm willing to make for a Gibbs or a Genty. So if he really wants a wide receiver, you can give him a couple potentially. And then if you can get like a Fields, do some kind of trade with Justin Fields in there as well, right? Anyone else that's like stacked? The Order has a pretty nice wide receiver room. And then he's not very deep at running back. And again, it also depends on I know you mentioned, gentlemen, you were thinking like full rebuild too. So like if that's the way you want to go, then we need to get Kamara, Connor, not necessarily now, but even McLaurin. Like we need to get these guys off our team for some future capital and stuff like that, for some rookies, for players like that. But yeah, I'd be looking to move the quarterbacks if you can. I'm willing to go 2-3 assets to get one of those top tier guys. If anyone overvalues IDP, I think I would just trade them away. Depending on how your league views them. What else? What are we thinking of Caleb? Like maybe trying to get Caleb from the Josh Allen, the Ronan guys. Do we think Caleb can get? Oh, who is Drake May? But yeah, Caleb to me is an interesting one to take a shot on. Drake May, the guy has Lamar. Can you get Drake May? Because I think Drake May could really be like a difference maker quarterback, a top 5 guy because of his rushing upside. Like, can you give this guy one of your quarterbacks and maybe something else to get Drake May? I think I would look into that potentially.
Yeah, so I feel like people are starting to warm up to Drake May. I think enough people are talking about him. I'm not saying don't go after him, but
yeah, but he has Lamar. Like he's never going to start May over Lamar, and so it's a 1 quarterback league. So like if you give him that second QB in a Stafford, in a Love, in a Penix, in a Lawrence, and something else,
honestly, it's probably Lawrence is like the most attractive one right now with the hype of Hunter going there. Like I don't know. I mean,
Penix.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like I always feel weird about offering people like, well, just pick one off of my team. Like I don't think it's a good move to say like, oh, you can have Love, Lawrence, or Penix. Like you kind of have to pick one and see how they respond. Because I feel like if you just offer all 3, I'm not saying this is what you're saying, but just something to consider. Like, don't say like you can have any one quarterback from my team, or I don't know. Maybe that is like as long as it's like part of a package. I guess maybe it's not too desperate sounding, But
yeah,
I just worry about like people looking at that and being like, oh, they don't value these guys. Like, why? And then start thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah, he has Travis Hunter. So Trevor Lawrence might be the one to go with to potentially get that stack. I think you can get May from him because, like, again, he's never going to start May over Lamar, So, and I honestly think May can get to that level of like he could be one of your difference makers, so to speak. What do you think about May, Dad? Do you think he has top 5 upside?
I think, whoever said was it Brian? People are warming up. I think he was kind of underestimated last year at this time. Everybody's like, he's on New England and the team sucks and rookie quarterback. And, I don't think everybody thought he was that great coming out of North Carolina. Is it another Mitch Trubisky thing? But I think a year later, everything is flipped. They got new coach. They got some decent players. They got Josh, what's his name? Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator. I was hearing that guy has produced some pretty good. He's done like 20 years as an offensive coordinator. He's always produced high ranked offenses and stuff. So, I think it's something to look at. Yeah, definitely. And if you're saying a guy has Drake May on a team and he's already got Lamar Jackson, maybe just throw a bunch of assets at him to try and get him.
How do you guys feel about trading, like using both these first round picks to like acquire a high end asset? Obviously it depends on who it is, but one of them being his own could be a little shaky.
Yeah. Real quick on Drake May to wrap that up. He was on pace for like over 600 rushing yards last year. I think I read he only had 4 designed runs as well. So that was all off of like scrambles and stuff like that. So I don't know if you should take that as a good or bad thing, but I think they definitely designed more runs for him. So I think how I would approach this team is I want to try and get one of those heavy hitter assets at any position really, and keeping my firsts if I can, and then kind of seeing. I think with one heavy hitter and the rest of these pieces like Kamara, James Conner, McLaurin, Marvin Harrison hopefully steps up. Maybe Caleb does something. Like I think he could at least get a good feel by mid-October. Okay, like if I add one more piece, this team can compete, or I should probably just pack it in and look towards 2026 a little bit. So I think that's kind of how I would approach this team. Trying to trade Olave, McLaurin, even some of the rookies and Burden and Besh, like people have rookie fever. Potentially even Caleb. Like if we think Caleb Johnson's just going to be Najee, he's not that valuable in this league. Like to get that for sure piece and then kind of, all right, let's play out the first 6 weeks and then go from there. Right. But I do want to try and acquire that big piece if I can. I think I do. And again, I feel like Drake May, if you can't get, so Justin Fields, I don't know if he'd be that big piece, but he's a potential big piece. If you can get him, and again, I feel like just the optics of like Lawrence versus Fields, Penix versus Fields, you could probably get Fields plus something for like a Penix or a Lawrence, but I think Fields could easily be better than those guys. Drake May, Caleb Williams also is someone I don't want to pay as much as I would for Drake May, just because I'm not sure what Caleb Williams' like rushing upside is, but he's on the team with Josh Allen, so I would think about getting him. Or if you can somehow get one of those top tier wide receivers or running backs. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like try and get that major piece, and then he should have enough to at least be floating around playoff contention if he does that, right? After 6 weeks or so, you would think.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I do think it is the right move to like not be super willing to move off those first, just in case it does turn into a dumpster fire, But yeah, like you just said, wait for the season. Like these guys, the values on these running backs are super depressed, it's sometimes it's hard to find that trade partner for sure. Like where because they're obviously thinking like, well, who's Kamara like gonna replace in my lineup? Like, and what's that worth to me? Like
Mm-hmm.
I always find it a little difficult to navigate. Sometimes I don't know. Maybe it's just the leagues that I'm in, but sometimes people get a little too attached to the potential of guys, even though it's like, well, they're obvious contenders and I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want to pay the iron price. So
I was thinking with the King's Gambit because he did mention he wants a wide receiver, and he has his first round pick as well. Like, can he do? I would do something like Olave, Luther Burden, and his first back for like either Gibbs or Genty. And then I would potentially like also throw in like one of your quarterbacks and get Justin Fields back as well. So you get Justin Fields and Gibbs. Because like if we're being completely honest, in a 12-team start 8, the chances of Burden and Besh doing something is pretty low. To really being difference makers again, because it's like if they're not top 12, they're not that important. They're not top 15. They're not that important. So
no, I like that because it'll give him some hope for rebuild his wide receiver room with top end rookies. As far like in a weak-ish or weak or wide receiver class. So dangling those. Plus giving him back his first, like that's got to be enticing. So he has some value insulation there. He's like, well, if I suck, at least I get my first back as far as a high end pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and packaging one of those guys with Fields, I think is a really smart move.
Yeah, and I'd be okay. I know we said potentially hold on to your 26 first, but if you're getting like Fields and Gibbs because of it, I think I would be willing to part ways with it, and then kind of still taking that same approach of like, all right, let's see 6 weeks in what I'm doing here. So
yeah, well, you're talking about trading that guy back his first, right?
Yeah. I know, but we talked about like keeping those 26 first to kind of see how the season goes.
Both
but
of
like,
them. But no, I mean, like Dad said, like you got to pay to play too. So I kind of like that strategy, honestly. Like giving the guy back his first, and you can even present it to him in that way, where it's like, look, if you're bad, at least you're getting your first back. Like if he has any kind of hesitation, where it's like, well, like getting your own like pick back is always kind of like a way of like self insulating the risk,
Yeah. Some other players deeper down that I'd be obviously like guys like Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard. I think is probably a little bit underrated. I wouldn't mind adding him. I could see him having a good year. Obviously James Conner, you already have. DK Metcalf is one. Like if they do get Rodgers, like DK Metcalf could have his best year of his career, and I wouldn't be shocked. I think he's a little bit easy to get right now. Jalen Waddle, we always talk about. Jerry Jeudy, I think it's kind of underrated personally, especially if Flacco's going to start. Tyreek Hill. These are players that aren't in the top 5 at their position that are almost like untouchable for people that maybe you can add to your team.
I don't know. Yeah. I keep looking at scary guys again, and just like the lack of quarterback depth. Like maybe he just starts Mahomes every time, but offer him Trevor Lawrence for fucking TJ Hawkinson. See if he takes it. Probably have to give him a tight end back. I don't know. I think Hawkinson.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm just based on he's only got Mason Taylor on his.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too high on Hawkinson, but I love
probably in a non-tight end premium. Like, and like we're approaching this as a lot of these guys don't matter, only top 5, 7 guys, but like not everyone sees it that way, and so you shouldn't necessarily trade just having that in your mind. You should trade because like in a deeper league, in a super flex, whatever, like you wouldn't do Trevor Lawrence straight up for Hawkinson. Like, I don't think that trade gets done in any league really. Like, on the Hawkinson side, I know it's a one quarterback, so it's different. So, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, maybe it is. I just think you can potentially get a little bit more there. So
Get more than Hawkinson.
yeah, but then one quarterback, maybe not. But
Yeah,
I don't know. It depends on how your team views it, I guess.
I'm just kind of looking at like the previous 2 seasons for Hawkinson. Also, I think he is a good target. Like he's gonna get 100 targets. I mean, he had basically 130 the previous 2 years before last year. I mean, he was kind of on that pace. Yeah, I mean, over 100 for sure last year, coming back from injury when he finally did play.
He did pretty well coming back. He
Yeah.
just didn't have a lot of time.
Yeah, and he's not a touchdown magnet, like given like the other. I mean, just look at the way the Vikings have scored, like over the last like several seasons, like with Darnold and Cousins. Like it's a lot of, like long field type stuff to like Addison and Jefferson and stuff. Plus the run game's always been a strong component. So, I mean, I get it, but it's still not doing it for you, huh? 1,000 yards, Mike. 1,000.
No, it's just like no, it's not that. And again, like it's more. So it's like those top 3 guys were really the only tight ends that mattered that much, and so that's what Kittle. That's Kittle, Bowers, and
so my argument is, why can't Hawkinson be a top 3 tight end?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So let's think. What is Hawkinson? Let's see what Kittle did last year. He put up 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, 80. I assume it was Kittle, unless I'm forgetting someone. Is Bowers, McBride, and Kittle, right? For the top 3. I guess I can look here.
Yeah.
Real quick and see. Let's see here. It was Kittle was actually number 1. Bowers and then McBride. Yeah. So we're talking almost 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 80 catches. Brock Bowers, we know what he did. 1,200 yards, 112 catches. McBride had a ridiculous amount of catches. I don't know if I see Hawkinson with essentially a rookie quarterback with Justin Jefferson, Addison there. Like, I don't really know. Like, what did he have last year? 4 receptions a game is what he averaged. I don't know. I don't necessarily see 1,200 yards, 8 touchdown type of stuff from Hawkinson potentially. Personally on the Vikings.
All right, we're gonna have to bet this off air.
I mean, what are you saying he's gonna do? Like, is he gonna repeat 2023?
Yes.
And you got a different quarterback situation.
Yeah, sure.
So
I don't know. I guess.
Wait, hang on. So even if he repeats 2023, though, I don't think he's in that top 3. Like, in terms of like what those guys were last year, in terms of their difference making of WARP, 95 catches, 960 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's probably going to need 3-4 more touchdowns or a couple hundred more yards. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't think. I guess I'm looking at it from like attainability and like not even really giving up that much. Like, if you need, these 4 quarterbacks, if you need him like one of these pieces as like to get another trade done, like I get that, but I don't know. I think it kind of like it solves one issue, one detriment of the team, like maybe not to your liking, I guess, Mike, like as far as like one of these like guaranteed like top 3 guys, but I don't necessarily see him outside of that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking 2023. That was also when Jefferson was hurt too, right? Like, if I remember correctly, it was with Kirk Cousins, like just a whole completely different situation there. I think that was the year Jefferson. Yeah, Jefferson missed 7 games that year. I would be surprised if Hawkinson had those numbers next year, and I'm not even convinced those numbers are going to put him in that top 3 in terms of
I
what
get
those
it.
top 3 did last year. So,
I get it. You don't agree.
and Two Distinguished Gentlemen also says he's not very high on Hawk, and I know he likes Colston Loveland. I'm pretty sure he likes Colston Loveland. So, so 2023, Hawkinson was the number 1 tight end in WARP in that league. Now compare that to the WARP of. I'm gonna double check what that was for compared to number 1 last year and see
No, I mean,
see
we
what
don't
it
have to
was.
keep talking about Hawkinson. I was just kind of throwing it out there as my opinion. Like,
No, I know. It's just we can. I think it's good discussion because, like, yeah. So Bowers was, yeah, it was basically like a half a game higher. Like Kittle, Bowers, and McBride were all like a half a game higher. No, I think it's a good discussion with the tight ends and stuff, and I think it's good to shed light on, like, you really have to be like a really, really, really good season in a non-tight end premium, to like really matter, unfortunately. So, which is why, we support playing tight end premiums and stuff like that. So, I just think it's a misconception that like people have personally, so, but thinking about your trade, like, I think I would be okay with it just because it is a 1 quarterback league. And I think it could get done. Like you mentioned, I guess it depends on how the guy feels about, um, Bryce Young. What was it? Who were his backups? Bryce Young and Jackson Dart. So I guess it depends on how he feels about those guys. Yeah, but
yeah.
I wouldn't mind it. Anything else with this team?
No, I'm kind of bummed out that I couldn't see the IDP stuff. I don't think I'd have much of an opinion on it. I know you guys we didn't really address that very much. So what are your guys' overall takeaways on that?
From my experience, which is very little, but also from what I hear from people, is like for IDP to really matter is like you need to have like a full on like 6, 7 IDP players starting for it to really start to matter. And like even starting 3, it's not that much, and they're almost like kind of like kickers in that sense, where it's just like it's a little bit random, a little bit hard to predict, and you can kind of just find replacement level players on the bench. So I don't know if you have different experience there, Dad, with the IDPs that you played.
It's just I remember when I first played it, I was trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do here? And then I looked up scoring. I think I started off with, oh, I'll pick these guys who get a lot of sacks. First off, I didn't have a shortage of players. So, then I started looking at guys with sacks, and I thought, no, that ain't working out. And I found the best players, and it depends on your scoring system, were linebackers and safeties,
Mm-hmm.
And occasional cornerback, who made a lot of tackles and stuff like that. That was my scoring system, and if you got to get a defensive line in there, person, if it's mandatory, you got to start a D line. Then you got to look. You got to dig a little deep. Defensive tackles don't make a lot of tackles. They just, we know the edge guys rush the passer, and and stuff like that, linebackers and safeties, they make the most tackles. So, and I never had a shortage of them. Like, oh shit, I got to start this guy this week. There was somebody always there from a team. Every team has good tacklers in the linebacker situation. They may not be household name linebackers, but that's what my thing was. That's my experience.
Yeah, and he's mentioning here it's a point per tackle, 2 points for sack. So
Yeah, so tackles are the way to go for sure.
yeah, and I'm just thinking a really good game would be 12 tackles and a sack.
Or I don't know, is pass breakups part of it?
Don't think so.
Interceptions. I know that was
interceptions.
Yeah.
Forced fumbles. Like if someone had 12 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble, that would be an incredible game.
Yeah, that would be a marvelous
16
game.
points.
So I always thought the IDPs were scoring higher than kickers and stuff like that. I thought it was cool. I've always wanted to go back and play it. It's been, I don't know, 10, 15 years now. So
yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so
you heard it here. Dad's starting an IDP league.
No, I'm not starting any league.
Do it.
That means I got to pay attention, and I don't want to. So
yeah, we know how that goes.
Yeah, that's terrible. Either I'm going to be committed or I'm not.
So is it just to touch back on that? He says that's a phenomenal game, right? So it's 16 points. That's good. That's great. But how many wide receivers each week are putting up 16 points in a PPR league? I mean, I'm just looking at week 1 here. That's 16 guys did that, right? So I think that's where the IDP not being as valuable. It has to go a little bit longer, or there has to be other things involved, maybe, or something. So
should we lightning round these questions we have in the chat and get out of here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Marvin,
not too many.
651, I think, is the first question.
What is a wet dream?
No, I think we answered that.
You said 6. Oh yeah, your time. We talked about booty and wet dreams. Purdy. With the Purdy extension, Mac Jones a drop? No. I mean, I was holding on.
Unless you're in a 12-man league. So if you're in a 10-team or less, you definitely don't have to hold on to him.
Unless you're in a 12-man league minimum.
I think he's saying, if you're in a less than 12-man league, can you drop Mac Jones? And you can.
Yeah, probably.
You don't have to, but, you can, depending on roster and bench size. Well,
I don't think anything.
Roster.
I don't think anything changed for me for Mac Jones. I didn't expect him to play unless Purdy got hurt. So, how do we think that the 26 class will compare to 25? Seems like there's more viable quarterback options. Yeah, it's a little bit tough because if guys like Arch Manning come out, or what's his face that transferred from Tennessee, Iamaleava or something, comes out, then it looks good, but it's kind of up in the air with those guys. I think the only for sure player that's going to come out that's a top prospect right now is Drew Aller out of Penn State. He probably would have been a second-round pick this year. So I've heard not great things about 26 class, but I also heard that about the 25 class. So, I think I'll probably dive into it a little bit in July and get a better idea there. Backup quarterbacks didn't get a real chance to upset the starter this year. One in each division, if so. So backup quarterbacks.
Daniel Jones.
Yep. Daniel Jones. No one from the AFC West.
Yeah, no one basically from any other AFC team.
Yeah. Did you look through it?
Yeah, I'm looking through them right now, and it's spin the wheel of Cleveland Brown. I don't even know who you consider the starter there. If it's Joe Flacco, but it could be any one of them. But
no, Pickett is the QB1 right now. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
I heard the same. No, I heard the same thing today, and I'm like,
I did too, which means it doesn't fucking matter.
no, it doesn't. It's all garbage right now. So just
We're hoping for Flacco.
throw it in
yeah,
the trash
please.
can.
Please, Flacco. It's not even. It wouldn't even like. The question is upset as well. Like no one would be upset whoever starts. Like, oh my God, Kenny Pickett didn't start. I guess, like you said, Flacco. But I heard Will Levis might start the season
Oh God.
over Cam Ward. Yeah.
Also, bullshit.
Maybe the first couple games, but I guess they play like the Broncos and someone else. Two pretty good defenses. I don't know if there's anyone else. I mean, Jalen Milroe over Darnold,
No,
I guess. Yeah.
I don't see that.
How about Dart over Russ?
I don't see that either.
My prediction is Jackson Dart starts week 1. So
there you
but
go.
then you look at their schedule and it's not great either. They might do the Drake May, Jacoby Brissett thing where they kind of ease them into it. You get them in a easy team. So yeah, there's not really that many in terms of just straight up beating beating them out. It's like Daniel Jones and like I guess Jalen Milroe's number 2. In terms of like I think we kind of think of the New York job, the Cleveland job as kind of a little bit up in the air. So I mean, Jake Hayner over Tyler Shuck and
Jake Hayner is out till training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, who needs training camp?
Here it is, oblique.
Oh, I thought he was sitting for a better contract. No.
Yeah.
We have 4th round rookie pick. Can you rank Pat Bryant, Isaac Tesla, and Torrey Horton in terms of the best shot to take? I think it's Pat Bryant for me.
Yeah, I think he did rank him right there.
Yeah, I think he did too. His dad's going to fall asleep on us as he made it clear for us to hear. What do you have there, Father? Pat Bryant, Isaac Tesla, Torrey Horton. We got Pat Bryant on the Broncos, Tesla on the Lions, and Horton on the Seahawks.
I don't know shit about any of those guys other than Tesla from the Lions.
I mean, Tesla probably has the least chance to be relevant this year coming up, but he's on the best offense.
Yeah, right? I mean, he could step into Tim Patrick's spot or something, you know?
Yeah, so not relevant.
The other guy, you know, I think Denver's got a couple wide. They got a trio of wide receivers that can produce, you know. I don't see.
Name them.
Okay, Sutton, Marvin Mims, and hold on.
No, that's wrong because Marvin Mims cannot produce. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to throw him in the
There's
trash.
that rookie from last year, Devin somebody.
Devon Bailey.
Yeah, see, I can name
Troy Franklin.
I don't think you did name
Troy
him.
Franklin.
Yeah,
Marvin,
okay.
You know what's funny? Marvin Mims is like if you actually look at his last like 6 games or like per game stuff, it was actually really good. Like it was like the top 20, 24 wide receiver stuff. So
it seemed like he was a deep threat a little bit.
Well, they don't use him enough, unfortunately. Like his highest snap count on offense last year was 46.9%. So he literally didn't have a game over 50%, and his season average is 27. So just not playing enough. It's Pat Bryant for me just because of the situation. Like he could be the wide receiver 2 for that team. Torrey Horton's interesting as well. Outside wide receiver for the Seahawks. So Josh Allen for the 102 and a super flex.
Absolutely not.
Wait, which side are you saying?
No,
like,
sorry. If you're trading Josh Allen for the 102, don't do that.
No.
If you're trading the 102 to get Josh Allen, you better have already accepted.
Yeah,
that.
like next 5 years, 102s or something.
Yeah,
you know?
no shit.
Yeah, even the 101's not even close.
No, not even the 101, 102, and 103. Not even enough.
Yeah, I mean, unless you play in a really deep league, you might get close there, but
it's
probably still not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, right, like you have to use one of those picks to hope you replace Josh Allen. Like, so you're automatically already down to 2 picks with a fucking dart throw involved. Like, there's no way. So
Yeah.
I like the Josh Allen side. Bold take.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please, if someone is offering you Josh Allen for the 102, I hope you take that. I feel like it's not, though. I feel like it's the other way around because you listed that he has A-Rich, May, and Knicks. So
Yeah, that's the way I was reading it. Like, don't trade Josh
Yeah.
Allen, especially if those are your other 3 quarterbacks in Superflex. Trade one of those other guys.
yeah, for sure. And then we'll finish up with this is Mr. Magic. He's our redraft guy. We're getting 105 days till kickoff. So he is asking some rounds, 4 to 5. I'm going to start ranking guys here pretty soon. Like going over, I have like a rough skeleton outline, but rounds 4 to 5 range, wide receivers. So we're looking at.
I'm pulling up ADP right now just so I get an idea.
Yeah, so that's
PPR.
Yeah, probably. So that's what that's 37 to 60, right? Let me pull these up here.
Favorite ones. I honestly I haven't really looked at ADP I haven't thought about redraft since January just because Dynasty is all consuming.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely not. Rice is interesting. You have to get more information on him, but that's probably going to change depending on what we hear. I'm out on Zay Flowers. He's in that range. Marvin Harrison is fine. Oh man, this is kind of a gross list. Olave,
Waddle at the end of the 5th.
Waddle's good. I like Jerry Jeudy. That Flacco is the starter, especially. Oh, DK Metcalf for sure. I really like. I'm kind of out on like Olave, Flowers, Sutton's and probably Sutton. I'm fine with. Devontae Smith. How you guys feeling about Smith?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know what Devontae Smith is. Like, league winner if AJ Brown gets hurt or even Goddard gets hurt, I guess. But, overall, like a solid wide receiver 2. Probably low end if everyone stays healthy.
Where he doesn't show up. It's not him. I don't think it's him. I just think it's the Eagles' offense.
Yeah.
I kind of like just thinking about value wise. I just kind of kept scrolling, and it's like I like Calvin Ridley in the middle of the 7th round in PPR, Jacoby Myers at the end of the 7th round as well. Good targets in PPR specifically.
Yeah. Khalil Shakir is pretty high up there. Yeah, let's talk about Hawkinson.
For the next half
Khalil
hour.
Shakir's pretty high up there. I don't know if he's a fine player. I just don't know what his upside is, I guess.
Yeah, I think Cortland Sutton at the end of the 4th round, I'm kind of surprised to see them that high. Not that I don't think he should be there, but I feel like I've tried to trade Cortland Sutton in a rebuilding dynasty league for a second for the last 2 years straight, and no one gives a fuck about Cortland Sutton for some reason. And it's like he's just like he keeps producing. Like what is the deal? So I'm glad to see him up there.
Yeah. My issue with Sutton was like he scored 10 touchdowns in 2023, and I think he wasn't even like top 36. But then obviously Bo Nix was a big part of him being legit. Yeah, so those are our guys. I'm definitely out again. I'll repeat. I'm definitely out on Flowers, Olave. There was someone else I just saw here. Oh, I'm probably out on Godwin, to be honest. Like, I'm probably just going to pass on it. If I can get him at a round value, sure. But I'm probably just going to opt for like a DK Metcalf, Waddle, maybe even Sutton range over Godwin and just not mess around with the injury and crowded receiving room. So, And last one, the roll says he traded CMC, Ayuk, and Devontae Adams and a 26 first for Jay Jettas.
I love it.
It's a lot. I'd have to know how many starters you'd have but if it's a shallow league, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, well, the way I'm looking at it, well, I don't know. That's pretty bold calling the late 26 first, isn't it? No, no, I like it though. I mean, I think you're trading a couple of aging players, a late pick, and the question mark of Ayuk right now for yeah. Sure. I mean, it could not be good for this year for sure, but long term, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, probably for this year he loses out, right? Sure. Assuming everyone's healthy. But yeah, no, you're right. It's two aging players and a guy we're not sure about in a late first for top 3 wide receivers. So
yeah, that's the price you got to pay for someone like him.
Yeah, for sure. But we will finish up there. Appreciate everyone. We'll be live again Saturday morning. We're probably not going to do the Sunday evening this week, so just Saturday morning will be our next and last one of the week. And yeah, we better get out of here before someone falls asleep.
Good night.
By the way, your chair is squeaky again, just so you know.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't last very long.
Screw it.
Appreciate you two distinguished gentlemen. And if anyone does want a team review, you can see how much effort we put into it. We go over an hour on it and stuff like that. Join the Discord and we can get you set up for that. So link is there. Appreciate it.